isn't it? Let's see. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our SACPCMP overview session. Apologies for the delayed start. We were still, just allowing, other participants to join in. But yeah, we're gonna now officially start. And I think we're expecting about close to about 100, but I see maybe others are going to join a bit later. So I think without wasting any more time, so I think we will start with a meet and greet. I'm still also waiting for the system to upload the presentation, and then we should be good to go. But obviously, the first 30, 45 minutes, we first maybe just try to get a feel, from everyone, what they expect from the session and why it was important for them, so just to join in. And so that at least, so as we go through the presentation, we try to guide our conversation, so to cover all of those areas, so to the best of our ability. Because we understand we're at different levels. Others are here just to understand what, SACPCMP is all about. And others are already waiting for their interviews, and others are in the report preparation stage. Others are maybe just thinking about it, So I think we a diverse group with different expectations. So I think the first part really is just to get a feel of what the expectation is, and then we'll be able to guide the conversation accordingly. Right. So I think we without wasting any more time. So I'm just going to allow, obviously, it's 60 of us. So I'm just going to allow maybe the first 10 just to share, their expectations. So you can just raise your hand, and then we'll be able to, afford you the opportunity. So you just introduce yourself, name, surname, maybe your current environment, your status of your SACPCMP registration journey, and designation as well, so CM, CPM, and so what you expect out of this session. Right. So I think, you can just raise your hand. It could be anyone, so then I'll just give you the opportunity. Right. Okay. So, all right. So there's one hand over here. So let's see. Okay, the hand, Kolani Koba. Okay, so over to you, Kolani.
Thanks, Chair. I don't know if I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are. Loud and clear.
I'm audible, Chair. You
Yes,
can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Chair. Mornings, Abongile. Morning, colleagues. My name is Kalani Koba. I am currently working in Western Cape at UCT. I'm in the waiting list to go to the interviews. The reason I've joined this group this morning is to understand my alignment when I'm participating and looking at the questionnaire that Miyecha has provided us as a guidance to answer them in a format that it will assist me to able to proceed well in the interviews, because my understanding, I normally answer them without aligning them a lot with the guidance or with the knowledge of the project management. Maybe I'm generalizing them when I answer them. I look at the answers when the system respond to me. So this morning I just want to check if I'm not away from the system or the way to answer those questionnaires. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, no, thank you. Thanks, Polani, for that. So Polani is part of our program. So I think at least we've managed to clear the not so straightforward stage, which is the report stage. So at least you managed to get to professional interview, and so I think maybe as part of the discussions as we go, then some of those areas will be clarified. But I think most importantly, our environment is sometimes where we work and what we are expected to deliver versus the SACPCMP identification of work. It's slightly different, so you obviously now need to look at things from an SACPCMP perspective, so just to align your activities and what they are called in your environment and how that aligns with deliverables per SACPCMP stage, So I think that's the trick, because just to contextualize the identification of work and I think maybe through the process we'll be able to I think once you're done with the questions, then we'll be able to provide that kind of support. So yeah. So otherwise, I think you're on the right track, Xolani. So those the reflections, asking yourself, identifying those blind spots, So that's pretty much it, So that's how you align yourself, So you're learning, unlearning, learning, unlearning, So yeah, your environment won't be perfect. But at least once you understand what the standard is expecting, so then you'll be in a much better position. But yeah, so we're going to close those gaps. All right. So I think next up will be Lwando and then Abongile. So Lwando, over to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Luando Kran. I am the professional quantity surveyor. I work for PrASA in the Eastern Cape. Um, the reason why I joined, I'm interested on the latest development from the council with regards to the competency exemption and that suspension of qualification gap requirement. So I'm looking forward. Maybe this session will unpack that new development. Thank you. By the way, I've contacted you guys and I got the quotation from you. So I was just waiting for the money so that I can you can guide me to become a professional. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you. Thanks, Luando, for that. So yeah, it looks like everyone is very interested in this exemption. Yeah. So I think on that one, maybe on the professional interview, currently um, you are scored out of five, right? Let's say you need to get 60%, so that's the current expectation. And I think the points to get to 100%, you need to get 5 points, right? So, but now it seems like there's been a challenge, So people were like getting about 2.7, 2.8. And unfortunately, they don't give you like a conditional approval like before, so it's either you meet those requirements and only maybe when you get to that 60%, and let's say maybe they still feel that you are experienced, but maybe you're not so comfortable with construction regulations, or let's say in most cases for PrCPMs, so what seems to be the biggest challenge because of how the industry operates, it would be like your stage two. Concept and feasibility, more especially the financial analysis and things like that. So, because of how different organizations work, and also if, let's say, you're working for a public sector type of environment, those things are not really interrogated, so no one is going to, delve deeper into the net present value, detailed return on investment and things like that, So that is more for a profit-driven type of investment, So I think those are some of the challenges. And obviously now, once you're given this license, you're not going to be a PrCPM for the public sector, So you are a PrCPM, for any type of, South African construction project, So that's just the reality. And hence, now the council will then say, yes, we can see that you understand the basics, right? But, go through, this next level, so that you can close those gaps. But yeah, so I think once we also enroll you, maybe Lwando will closely interrogate those gaps and be able to point you towards the right direction. So otherwise, as a QS, I know at times you wear two hats, so you'll be a PQS and then also, let's say, a principal consultant, principal agent, so which I think it's something that really, stand, those professionals in good stead, like, I think architects as well. They are very fortunate, so to be in that kind of setup, so yeah, but I think obviously without the full details, we can't really provide much guidance. But yeah, so once you enroll, we'll obviously, scrutinize the detail and be able to give you a well-crafted, way forward. So yeah, so otherwise, thanks, Lwando, for joining in. Okay, so next up is Abongile Gangatele. Over to you. Okay, Abongile.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
Good morning, Chair, and everyone. My name is Abongile Kangatele. I am currently an intern in construction project management at Human Segments, and I hold a advanced diploma in construction management. So I joined here so that I can understand the requirements and like after how long can I qualify to register, maybe as a candidate or as a professional in construction project management. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So I think, yeah, this will definitely clarify that. So yeah, thanks again for joining, Bongile. So yeah, you are definitely in the right place. Awesome stuff. Right. Next up is Bonginkosi. Over to you.
Hello, Mira.
Yes, sure, go for it.
Audible.
Yes,
Yes.
you're audible.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Bonginkosi Ngcaweni. I'm currently based in KZN. I work on projects for Department of Transport. I just recently contacted you guys after I've submitted my submission to SACPCMP for PrCPM, but I didn't go through to the next stage. I think it was more of the understanding of what maybe the requirements and the setup that is required by SACMP. But I've contacted you guys. You looked at my CV already. I've made payment sometime this week early. After I saw this opportunity to engage, with you, Micha, and the team, I thought it would be ideal and very helpful for me. I'm currently sorting out my CV, my report, and then I'll submit as soon as possible. I think you've given me, the milestone dates as well as to when should I submit what, and then I think the target is about September. We should be complete with my with the assessment. Yeah, I'm looking forward. As I've said, yeah, from the last experience, I didn't make it, but yeah, I think it was more not understanding, or not maybe my work not aligning with the requirement, but I think it was me, the way I put it, as I think you've said it before. That some people don't understand as to what the requirement, or maybe the way SACMP wants the reports and the CVs to be aligned. So then I think the judgment then comes from there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to be guided, and yeah, I'm very optimistic. Thank you.
All right. All right, awesome. No, thank you. Thanks for that. And yeah, thank you also for choosing us as your preferred mentor throughout this journey. So yeah, like exactly what you've mentioned. So professionals have experience. So it is just a matter of the correct articulation of the identification of work. So that's it, because you might just be presenting evidence that aligns with how you do things in your environment. So, and leave out very key elements. That assessors, or let's say the council. I don't want to say assessors, because then we start attacking assessors and as if, they are gatekeepers and all of those things that won't take us forward, because assessors as well are guided by the mandate of the council, whether in assessing reports or whether in a professional interview. So I think we just need to respect that. And I like how you pitched it, so there was nothing negative. It was just you reflecting on your own experience and also understanding that, look, with this journey, I need to be guided. Yes, I might have the experience, but I just need additional support, so just to better understand the expectation, from I would say the SACPCMP standard, and how it aligns with your operating environment or context. All right, so yeah, so I think there's no other hand. Any other hands? So we can still push 5 more. So anyone? So any reflection, any comment, anything that one would like to just add, reflect on the journey, or we're good. We're already waiting to. Okay, so I see there's Lamini. Okay, Sviso, over to you.
Hi, colleagues. Okay, so I'm Sfiso Dlamini. I work on construction projects, mainly on Sunrise as RE. So I've already registered with EXA, but now what I'm trying to get is the difference between the two systems of registration, because on EXA it's more technical, and I'm also trying to see how I have to align myself with the project management registration side, since I'm based on sites, which is usually more technical. So I'm trying to understand which task maybe must I involve myself with, so that they are more on the management side. Because I've always been told that when you start registering for the professional professional construction manager or project manager, it's kind of different than you do when you register with X as a professional person. So yeah, no, I'm just here to get an understanding of how this system works. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yep. And Asia, REs. Yeah, it's always yeah. I think for AXA, it's yeah, it's straightforward, because you see the unfortunate part about being an RE and wanting to register with the council. It's just that your journey might take a bit longer, but obviously doable. So anything is doable. But yeah, it might just be slightly longer because the exposure as well. Because with REs, they are involved in stage 5 and 6, in most cases. So, well, I think that's the reality, because stage 4, someone else will be managing that part. So RE stage 5 and 6, so that's construction and closeout, of which, for you to register as a professional construction manager, you need to be involved in all 6 stages, from initiation and briefing, concept, feasibility, design, development, the procurement, construction, and closeout. And also, even if you can then say, oh, okay, fair enough. So can't I then register as a construction manager? So as a construction manager as well, you need to be involved from stage 4 at least, all the way to stage 6, and you must have the accountability of a contractor, so you must be working in your capacity as a either 16.2 or 6 or 8.1, of which you won't be any of those, so which makes it very, very difficult, for resident engineers. And what makes sense is to at least find ways to get exposure from your company to at least be part of the principal consultancy work for, let's say, from stage 1 all the way to stage 4, and then stage 5 and 6, as a principal agent, just to be fully in charge. I know, there's us wanting to register and needing certain experience, and there's also our reality, because we are appointed, clearly defined job profile for you to do this and that and that. So, and hence I'm saying, sometimes it takes a bit longer, so, and requires a bit of patience for you to tick all of those boxes. And I think it just requires that, negotiation maybe with the employer, just to see if one can get exposure. But yeah, and with REs, stage 5 and 6, they master that, so more like at least they're exposed to the principal agency duties. It's just the principal consultancy work where one would fall short. So yeah, so otherwise, no thanks. Sfiso, but I think we're going to provide a bit of clarity on that, as we go through the session. All right, thank you. All right, so I think there's another hand. Okay, from Sazi. Sazi, over to you.
Good morning, Chair and colleagues who run the meeting. My name is Sazi. I'm working for Eastern Cape and the Human Settlement as a project manager. For me, is to just to get a guidance and also the process. Because for me, it's the first time I'll be starting the process of registration. So I hope the program will assist me on that. Thank you.
All right. Okay, awesome. So at least you want to understand how to kickstart your process, your journey. Okay, awesome stuff. All right, so I think, yeah, this will definitely cover the roadmap. Okay, so let's go. I think we're going to take Lungelo and then Tlotlo. So Lungelo, over to you.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Lungelo Dlamini, currently based in Mpumalanga, Nelspruit. I'm in the electrical field in a consulting environment. The reason I joined is I'm in the process of preparing my report, but I just want to find the processes to how to go about and what needs to be done so that I cannot have challenges going forward.
All right. So yeah. So I think what I'm getting is, yeah, registration. The journey, what is expected. So yeah, this will be covered. Okay. So at least, yeah, we have a better idea of the overall expectation, and I'm assuming that others also share the same. Okay, Tlotlo, over to you.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair. Okay, my name is Dr. Morolo. I'm currently a construction manager in the Ramfontein area of Gauteng. So yeah, I've a couple of experience I've been working for close 7 years as a construction manager. So my challenge is, I think I'm tired of being a construction manager, so I want to register as a consultant. And the company that I work for is actually interested in having me be registered as a construction project manager. So my question is, I would like to find out actually that is it possible if I could jump ship to being a consultant or more of a construction project manager rather than a construction manager? Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So the answer is yes. In actual fact, you will be one of the few professionals that will have a dual certification, right? So if I heard you correctly, Tlotlo, you are currently a PrCM, right? And also wanting to venture into, principal consultancy and agency, like as a CPM, right? Okay. I didn't get that, Tlotlo. So are you registered as a CM currently, PrCM? Okay, I'm not sure whether it's my network or Tlotlo's network. Okay, am I still audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
Well,
we can
okay,
still hear
all
you.
right. Okay, thank you. All right. No, thanks. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, yeah, maybe you can maybe just use the chat box, Clotho, just to confirm that. Yeah, but I mean, I'll assume that I think you said you registered as a CM. So you'd be one of the few professionals that will have that dual certifications, that dual certification. So and that is an advantage. So I know most professionals always want to pursue CPM, you know, um, as if I'm not sure whether there is a view in the industry that CPM is better than CM, of which that is not the case. Because there are different roles and responsibilities and accountability. Because as a contractor, you put the asset on the ground, and that is a special skill. And as a principal consultant agent, you organize the work, so as more like a process custodian, administering the contract, client liaising, so those kind of things. So not that that role is more important. It's just that you are coordinating everything, so from understanding, unpacking the requirements of the client, helping the client to better understand their scope. So you will be one of the few professionals in South Africa to have that dual certification, and it is an advantage. But now mapping the way forward, let's say you're already a CM, then you would need at least about 3 years evidence showing that you've been tried and tested as a CPM, so meaning you've managed a project from start to finish, so from stage 1 all the way to stage 6 in a more responsible capacity, so I think yeah, that is that would be the expectation. Whereas with others, it might just take them maybe 4 or 5 years, so things like that. But in your case, you just need about 3 years, so where you're running things all by yourself without much supervision. And what most people do, for instance, you might be trapped in a construction environment, considering that, you want to now venture into more consulting space. The gateway there would be like a PMP certification, for instance, companies like DBSA, and companies like your Transnets, your, I think, Sasol, like your PetroSAs, I think City of Cape Town, and quite a few in the private sector and SOCs, they recognize PMP, and that's how you can maybe get an opportunity, with the PMP certification and maybe your CM, it can better position you to now get an opportunity as a construction project manager, without, that official CPM license. Then that's how you're going to accumulate the right experience. And then only after like 3 years in that role, you can then start pursuing the PrCPM application. So yeah, so that's what others have done, and it has worked perfectly, because you just need a ticket to enter into that space, and with your CM license alone, it might just be a bit tricky, so because everyone is going to view you as a contractor, but with that CM and a PMP license, then at least you now have an integrated perspective of managing a project from start to finish, and you also understand, client expectation, business development, business planning, business case, and all of that. So yeah, so otherwise, yeah, that's it, Tlotlo. So I hope you got that. Okay, great. Right. Next up is Yolisa. Yolisa, over to you.
Good morning, Chair and colleagues. My name is Yolisa Hlabeni. I'm currently unemployed. I'm holding a PTech in quantity surveying. So I'm here to be guided on the process of registration, because I want to register now as a candidate quantity surveyor. I've got experience, but I don't know whether it's enough. So I'm here to listen and to be guided on the process, and also looking for a mentor, or I'm unemployed. So I hope that I'll get some information and the guidance towards that process. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Yolisa, for that. So I just want to check. So how long have you been without employment? I just want to check the gap. So and maybe experience. Before that, how was your experience? Was it more quantity surveying? Because at least if it's been at least just less than a year or just a year, so it can still, you can still start the process to register. But sometimes if it's longer than 2 years or so, then it becomes a bit tricky. But even though it can be done, but it can be a bit tricky. So, and unless of course maybe I think yeah, if you're comfortable to share, you can, but otherwise we can take it offline. So just to to look at your CV and maybe provide a more tailored way forward. Okay.
Sorry. Yes, we can just take it offline. We can
Okay,
talk
sure.
offline.
All right. All
I'll
right.
take it.
All right.
Thanks so
Okay.
much.
All right. Thank you.
All
Sure.
right. All right. Thank you. Bye.
That's fine. Right, so I think we have the last hand there, and then I think this will be this will be the last one. Okay, Mapiri, over to you. Okay, Mapiri, I think your hand was up. Okay, so I think if there are no further hands, I think we maybe should prepare to kickstart the session. Okay, so time now is okay, so that's 9:47. So I think let's just take a short break, and be back at 9:55. So then we're just gonna run with it, and then I'm hoping that we're gonna have, let's say, about maybe 15 minutes or so, just for further clarity from what we're gonna present. All right, so let's meet in the next 5 minutes plus. Okay, thank you. Hey, good morning once again. Abongile Jahiwe here from Mika Consulting, and I'll be taking you through the journey and just the qualification requirements and a little bit about what SACPCMP is all about, and maybe the steps that will enable you to easily clear this certification, and hopefully in the end there will be more clarity, So I think from what was shared, and with all the expectations, so I think we're very confident that I think with what we're going to cover, that should provide some light. Okay, so now from our journey, we're going to cover just a little bit about SACPCMP as an organization, so that at least we also understand that the assessors and this whole exercise of us submitting and others reviewing. It is not just something that is done for fun. It's part of the act. Something that is regulated. So I think it's very important to note. And then we also need to understand a bit about the requirements, so qualification, experience, so those kind of things. So I think we just need to. I think that's the most important thing, So for one to at least be comfortable whether they're on the right path, So what are the qualification requirements, and for you. Maybe if let's say you don't have a built environment qualification, so is that the end of the earth for you, or is there a way, that you can still pursue this journey? So hopefully that will be clarified as well. And then just the standard roadmap, So I think it hasn't changed for quite some time. I think they might just change templates and provide more clarity, because I think as much as there might be a negative perception about SACPCMP, but if you look at how they've improved, from when they started, and up to where they are, So there's been a very big improvement. I think, the task teams and the organization itself, So they are now slowly becoming, more efficient. And, let's be fair as well, no organization is perfect, So, and including SACPCMP, and, these are non-profit organizations. And I think that's, one thing that we need to maybe appreciate as well. Yes, maybe not as efficient like other organizations, So like the Engineering Council and maybe other councils, but there's always an opportunity for each organization to improve. And I think with the strides that they are taking, I think they are getting there, So there is at least now some direction, so in what they're doing. So yeah, so I think we just give you a bit of roadmap on that. And then I think the last part will just just to look at the SACPCMP stages. So I think sometimes when we talk about the difference between a CPM and a CM, it is not just us having some project management qualification, and maybe working for a contractor, because I mean in construction, construction managers are project managers, and consultant project managers are project managers, client project managers are project managers, whether in implementing agent or you directly work for the client. But they are obviously from an SACPCMP perspective, so there are key responsibilities that one is expected to to achieve. So if you're not actively participating in those activities, so then obviously you're going to fall short. So which I think, why, then, it leads to a frustration, not because the council is wrong by having, this standard to regulate, but I think the frustration is maybe from a perspective of not, understanding the full picture, so of why all of this is done. So I think once we then map, all of the phases, then at least it will provide a bit of clarity, so that at least we then understand, okay, this is what we need to do to close the gap in our experiences. All right, so I think that covers that part. So now let's jump straight to now the law. So what does the law say? So what SACPCMP is doing, is something that is mandated. It's guided by the it's guided by Act 48 of 2000, right? So that's where they get the power from, the mandate. And the whole idea is to, they need to regulate, so that's the most important part, just like any other industry, so it needs to be regulated so that we safeguard the interest of the public and investors as well, So, I mean, as an investor, if you want to now invest a 2 billion project, billion, million, whatever the case, you obviously want, a professional team that is tried and tested and a construction company that has got the right construction expertise. So, the council is there, to help, South Africa, to regulate the construction project management and construction management space, so just to have credible resources, whether as a contractor or consultant, client, yeah, something like that. So, but it's more about regulating, so making sure that as we register, we've been tried and tested, and indeed, so we are fit to lead and direct these investments, so that's pretty much that. Okay, so I think that provides the snapshot. So it is a mandate. It is not just them, bullying the industry or a money-making scheme, so all these negative things that would be said about the council because of a process inefficiency. But the mandate itself, it is legitimate, just like the engineering council and the Council for Architects, QSs, and so forth, So it's the same thing. It's just that, they maybe just need to, improve, just like any organization, to be more efficient. Okay, so I think that covers that bit. And then now when it comes to now the certification itself, so because with SACPCMP as a mentor, so I think in the past 3 or 4 years we've been getting requests as well outside of SA borders. I think from Zim, I think Mozambique, Namibia. So now with that, as yeah, Swatini as well. So I think with those requests as well. So one starts to wonder, is this certification now slowly, becoming a demand outside, or is it more professionals now from those neighboring countries wanting to actively participate in investments, in South Africa, So because in terms of how this entire SACPCMP certification is governed, I mean, that is governed by SACPCMP, and that is a South African organization that reports to the Council for the Built Environment, CBE. So that is the big boss of all these certifications, AXA, QSs, architects, and so forth. Okay, so and in terms of global recognition, South Africa, right? But as indicated, it seems to be attracting a lot of interest from the neighboring countries. So which I think it's good, so for South Africa and that's what, because I think with AXA as well, there seems to be some alignment, with a lot of, countries, even outside of Africa. So I think with SACPCMP, there seems to be, an interest, a growing interest, which I think it just rubber stamps, so that our criteria or standard is credible, and it's something that is viewed as a value even in other countries. And the focus area, that's obviously a built environment and the qualification type. So now, with this, just at a high level, right, without delving deeper into the details. So SACPCMP tests your experience, right? So they're not going to teach you that the only information that you're going to get, let's say you're starting your journey, right? So the only info that you're going to get will be let's say the identification of work, right? So you want to be a construction project manager, for instance. So then you will be given this identification. Well, not given, it's readily available, So you're just going to access it from their internet, right? Intranet. So that is the one part. So that it is then your responsibility, to then understand the identification of work. Let's say you don't have a mentor, right, to guide you throughout the journey. So then you need to look at what the council is expecting. Stage one, for instance, so are you involved in project brief development? unpacking the project brief from the client, right, to clarify it and make sure that it makes sense. And then are you, let's say, involved in, let's say, stage two, concept and feasibility report, identification of potential options to provide a solution to the identified problem or opportunity statement. And are you then involved in the selection criteria of those options, so whether it's through cost benefit analysis or multi-criteria decision analysis, so things like that. So, but what is your involvement, so you need to, because you see in the identification of work, it might not really spell out those, nuts and bolts, so, but now as you understand, so what is expected, what are the deliverables, and then you try and do a bit of investigation, so in your working environment or even in social, settings, professional settings, sorry, just to understand, okay, so how does this align, or even if you are not actively involved, but just, looking at what the architect does, what the, the quantity surveyor does, and, just trying to make sense of how that aligns with what you do. Because as a CPM, for instance, so you need to integrate everything and make sure that, there's alignment to, the client's, business case, and obviously project brief as well, so that's pretty much that. So the true test is you must have experience. By the time you decide to come to them, it's either you don't have experience, then you're going to register as a candidate. But let's assume that it's a straight application, because if you're a candidate, you're going to get a mentor, then there's a mentor agreement, all of those nice things, So then you'll be guided throughout the process, right? You're not going to struggle. So the mentor will be saying, hey, negotiate with the organization to be exposed to this and that and that. So it will be well channeled. There won't be any issues. But if it's a straight application, you already have your 10, 15 or plus years experience. So in that, you then need to go through the identification of work to understand what I do versus what is expected. Is this the right thing? So then you start unpacking your reports, which would be your CV, your project profile, your project report, unpacking successes and unpacking your failures, so that's pretty much that, so those are the key deliverables. They might name them differently now. I think the project report and project profile are now part of the eligibility report, so which is basically the same thing. So they're assessing, those key aspects. But there's a portfolio, which is you need to submit what you've been exposed to, your experience. They're not going to teach you anything, unless you have a mentor. It's the mentor that has the responsibility to provide that kind of guidance, and a responsibility of your organization to expose you to, activities that align with the identification of work. So that's pretty much that. And then now let's say you've passed the report stage part, right? Because that we're still talking qualification. So you have your qualifications, built environment qualification, and you have your experience, and then you still need to go through an interview process, where they're going to scrutinize, the detail, making sure that indeed, what is on your report and your qualification, you really understand the built environment, so that is not to catch you out, but just to make sure that you know exactly what you're talking about, so because let's face it, I mean, the other reality is that, others will ask people to write their reports for them, and others are not really actively involved, and now imagine if now a trusted body like SACPCMP, just authorizes someone and say, okay, yeah, you met the requirements, and now you're a CPM or you're a CM, so, and now you go and expose the industry, because now it is then the responsibility of SACPCMP to safeguard the interest of investors, the environment. So we don't want, when was it I can't recall, is it George situation, those kind of unfortunate situations. So everything needs to be well coordinated. But yeah, so qualification tab, so they look at your qualification, your experience, and there will be an interview process. So that's pretty much that. And then eligibility, okay, so I think we spoke about qualification, years of experience. So now let's look at the qualifications, right? I just hope this is clear enough. So Now, maybe at just at a high level, right? So step one, I think that is just for us, so service request, you send us your CV, then we scrutinize it just to check if you meet the requirements. So we're going to check qualifications. So now with the qualification, very, very important. SACPCMP recognizes post-qualification experience, right? Post-qualification. So you must first then demonstrate that you have a minimum number of years after qualifying. So I think that's the challenging part for some experienced professionals. So because sometimes you can work for more especially contractors, so they work, let's say, for a good 20 years and then decide because, they've been an asset to the organization, then the company decides, hey, so now we want to take you to university, right? Or University of Technology. So whatever the case. Okay, someone is also presenting. All right, so we will take you to university and then let's say 2020, then you complete your qualification in, let's say, 2023 or 2024. Unfortunately, so even though you might have 20 years of experience and get your qualification in 2023, so the council will count from 2023 onwards. So that is the unfortunate reality. Unless, of course, then you decide if you have at least a good 10 years, if you have a good 10 years experience, in either construction project management or construction management, then you can go via the recognition for prior learning route, which I think is also straightforward. It's just that you need to now write assignments and it's quite lengthy but I mean if you have to do it, so we will go that route. So it's quite longer, than the normal process because then there's a portfolio of evidence with all these assignments, unpacking exactly, providing the evidence, so how you manage things, and also the records to support that. And further to that, so someone is going to assess it, and then you go through an oral interview. And then after the oral interview, then you need to go to the formal interview, the normal interview that the professional interview that everyone goes to, whether it's RPL or the standard route, So that's pretty much that. So, but going back to now qualification and experience. So first, your qualifications would need to be a built environment qualification. So now let's unpack that. So built environment qualification, so we're talking civil engineering, we're talking electrical, we're talking mechanical, building, quantity surveying, architecture. So unfortunately, land surveying, industrial engineering, so they're not considered as part of recognized qualification. But the council updates this from time to time, but recognized qualification. So when you say built environment, so those are the professions that fall under built environment qualification. So at least if you did your diploma in building or civil engineering, or let's say qualification in building, civil engineering, architecture, electrical, mechanical, then you tick those boxes, So then that at least the qualification aspect is out of the way. Then now experience. So experience will be linked to the qualification as well. So let's say I have a national diploma in civil engineering, for instance, right, from a University of Technology. So at least the years post qualification experience, it must be 7 years, right? So you need 7 years post qualification experience, so that is just that, right? Minimum, right? So because you might be in a company for 7 years, same role, but in terms of exposure, you might not be fit enough, so to go for it. So which means you might have to push it to 10 years as well, because this is all about exposure, so more than anything. So are you going to be able to effectively lead and direct projects, whether in your capacity as a construction manager or construction project manager. Do you have the right experience, so to lead and direct such projects, So I think that's the true test. So then with the national diploma, that would be a minimum of 7 years, right? And then let's say you have like your BSc honors, or any let's say like a BTech, I'd say let's say up to NQF 8, so like your postgrad BTech qualification. So that would be like at least 5 6 years, so thereabouts. So you need to be in that range, so for you to be tested, because you see, remember the true test here is just to make sure that your experience is not questionable, right? So, for instance, if the council says at least a minimum of 7 years, and you go exactly in 7 years, they're gonna question you, right? How's this, because that is too perfect, right? So it's always better when you go like after like let's say 8 years, for instance, so then at least you're showing them that look, you gave this a thought, and you are really focused on understanding the identification of work. You covered all your areas, but not that it's not doable. It's just that if you don't have a mentor and you just happen to just go for it at exactly 7 years, that might just be a bit tricky. So they're gonna scrutinize your report and also in the interview, because it's a perfect story. So now they always identify that as a risk. So not that it's not doable, but it's flagged as a risk to some extent. All right, so I think that covers then that part, right? So now with experience, we're then saying national diploma, you need 7 years post-qualification experience, right? Relevant experience, right? Not just you being in a company, but relevant experience. And then we're saying like your BTech and your, let's say, honors and then things like that. So then obviously masters and then everything else. So that would be at least your 5 6 years, but 5 years, so experience. So that should be good enough. Post-qualification, relevant experience. Okay. So, and even if, you having a master's, for instance, you having a master's and all of that, it won't reduce the years of experience required. So at least at a minimum, the 4 5 years, that's what is needed. So just to tick all the boxes, whether you have master's, PhD, they're not going to say, yeah, no, you have masters, okay, we just need about a year. No, it doesn't work like that. So they strictly, you need to have the on the ground type of experience. So for you to meet all these requirements. So that's pretty much that. All right, so then I think we mentioned the RPL route. Let's say if you don't have a qualification, right, then what? You don't have this recognized qualification, but you have the years of experience, 10 years, for instance. So then you go via the RPL and well, at least lengthy, but doable. So I don't want to discourage anyone. So if you have the right experience, that's good. So make sure that we get the evidence, and then we assist, or you run it on your own, and then you get your certification. It's doable. If you have experience, anything is possible. You just need minor guidance from any mentor. Okay, so now let's unpack this roadmap a bit further. So now with this SACPCMP roadmap, which is the same, CPM and CM works the same. So with this, you have the first thing that one needs to in fact what you need to understand, so you're going to start this you're starting this journey, right? And now you want to just make sure that you know exactly what you need to deliver. So the deliverables expected as you start this journey, there is a CV. So the council has at least now provided a template. In fact, even before, so the CV template has always been there, and now there's a template. So they've put in the hours, created a template for us. So there is a template that guides exactly the type of information and how that information should be packaged in that CV, right? Very, very important. You use the SACPCMP approved template. Where do I get that? You download it from the SACPCMP website. Available, right? And then we also have, then there's also a project profile, okay? So now to simplify things, so just to show that, the council is indeed listening and putting in some work. So they have now, decided to create a project profile template, right? And on top of that, now recently they have this eligibility, report, so which includes the project profile and the project reports, so because we used to have what we call the A1, which is a project profile, which basically covers let's say your project history, so just the project history, the type of project, project description, with the scope of work, the start finish dates, and the list of participating organizations, who was the client, who were the engineers, project managers, implementing agent, environmental practitioner, health and safety practitioner, so principal contractor and so forth, so all of those details. And then, like your role as well, who was the client representative, and who are you reporting to, and things like that. So it just covers, what they need to know. And now they've even added something very important, which I think adds a lot of value, so to help assessors understand your level of involvement. So which is now per project profile. You need to also unpack the stages where you were involved, so unpack, okay, this stage I did this, that, this stage I did this, or I was not involved in this stage, I was involved in this stage and so forth. So that really helps, assessors as well. Even because if, let's say, the expectation is that you must at least cover these these stages, or manage, if you're a CPM, manage a project from start to finish, so at least about 3 projects, you must have managed those from start to finish, so demonstrate that evidence, very, very important. And now in the project profile, the council will need at least about 5 years. Give them a 5-year period where you're going to show that, okay, in the past 5 years, so this is what I did. And, this was, the involvement, the experience and so forth, so, but at least show them that you were actively involved, so you're not just a passenger or an observer, right? So we did this, we did that. So you were part of it, so you led this project, to success. So you're not observing we, when you're writing a report, you can't just, we did this, we did that. What was your involvement? So I assisted, I provided support in doing this and that, I did this, I did that, so yeah, so we're going to take questions when they say, so just when we just before we conclude, if you can maybe just park that a bit. So basically, we, that is the expectation. So with a project profile, we have at least you need to show 5 years experience, and then we have a project report, so which is successes and failure. So which is what we used to call the A2 report. It is part of this eligibility report. So that report as well, so very, very important, because it helps you to unpack then the successes that you managed to achieve in a project, and the failures as well, and how you overcame those failures. Successes, yes, I achieved this success, but how did you, what was your involvement? What was the nature of the success? And in most cases, when you unpack a success, it's a project that you led from start to finish, because it was successful because of you following the process, so, and making sure that the key risk items that you manage to prevent them. You use lessons learned, and you also use the risk assessment, so just to minimize any risk from undermining your integration objectives, your scope, your schedule, your cost, resource, procurement, stakeholder, so all of those knowledge areas, so it's all about that. And with the challenges, you obviously now look at how with the challenges report, ideally, someone else messed up, right? Someone else messed up, and now you took over, and that's always a nice story because you don't want to blame yourself, for this. Ideally, it should be a project like that. Or, it would be information that came later from the client and changes, which now led to, this unfortunate situation. But, other projects, they do have legitimate challenges, so some very, very tangible, and you can write about that. But it's just that now, you need to balance as well. As you unpack these challenges, you also want to make sure that you align with the identification of work, so because I mean, in this challenge, so is this a challenge that you were supposed to work on, or is this more a responsibility for the architect or the QS, or for the engineer, so because you need to also understand that, you do not overstep your boundary, so you are a construction manager or you are a construction project manager. So you need to operate within, those set parameters, so I think that's very, very important. So yeah, so I think, with these deliverables, at least that's what and the templates are there, from, the council. You download them and you can immediately work on these reports. And, quite honestly, you can do this on your own, right? But you obviously need to assess the risk, So can I do this on my own? Do I understand the identification of work, or do I need a mentor, So obviously with a mentor, then you benefit from, okay, no, this is how you package your integration, make sure that you cover this area and this. So you get that kind of guidance, right? And contextualize, so based on your experience and the experience of others as well. But now, when you're doing it on your own, you can get it right immediately, So, but there's also that uncertainty, so because you're not going to be able to bounce off ideas with anyone. You're not sure whether you're on the right path, and you don't know what to expect, and it might just be a bit tricky, So that's why, even if, let's say, you manage to pass a report stage, but when it comes to interview, I would advise everyone, to go for a mentor. Okay, so now let's look at now the CV. So if, let's say, you were to now look at the amount of time that's needed, for you to work on this. So you need roughly about, I would say 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks in total, right? Because I mean, it must not be overwhelming, but it can be less, right? Others, we've done it in a week with them, others 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but what seems to be more realistic for a working professional is 4 weeks. So how you organize it, so you would have, let's say, the CV, right? CV development. So because now you need to go back, check references, who was the, responsible, let's say, who are you reporting to, something like that, or the reference, so per project profile, and sometimes the qualifications and the courses that you attend, and sometimes you attend these courses and the records would be sitting at HR, so then you need to do a bit of, research, so just to consolidate all of that information to help you start working on your CV. So at least a minimum of a week. You submit to us, and then we review, provide guidance, to say, okay, so this is how you package this. Hey, okay, yeah, we see you're saying you're a construction manager, but, we don't see any stage 4 activities, in your CV, so we don't see any stage 5 activities, and we don't see any stage 6 activities, so just those key things, so that need to be there to show that as a KPI, indeed, what you do perfectly aligns with the identification of work, so because that's well, not perfect, let me not use that word, but at least, what you do is indeed in line with, your identification of, for instance, as a construction manager, so you must be involved in the appointment of subcontractors, so you must be involved in the method statement development, so things like that. You must be involved in the reporting, so the scheduling, so adjusting the program and, the extension of time, so, and also the rate build up, so though, yes, it might be the QS, but I mean, you understand better the efficiency of your team and, the resources required and things like that. So it's just those simple things, so that, one would pick up, whether indeed, you are a construction manager, because construction managers, they understand, so, how the construction process, operates. So at least in your CV, just it must show that you are an active participant, so when it comes to stage 4 to stage 6, you understand it, so you're not just a passenger, you are directly leading and directing. Okay, so then let's say the week passes, and then the next part, so project profile. So with the project profile, hey, this tends to be now. Like before, it was straightforward, but I think now it's a bit hectic. So you need to put in more hours, to get this done. But doable. Again, experience is there. You just need to package it, in line with the council requirements. So now with that. So your project profile, again, we give you about a week to work on it. So work on that. You send it to us, and then we review it. So give you feedback and provide guidance. Okay, you did not cover these areas sufficiently, or please look into this. So exact and the council. They are not looking for anything fancy, So, for instance, with procurement, you are part of a tender process. You get an advert and you tender for the work. You attend the briefings and you respond to the tender requirements. So just those basic things. So when we talk stage 4, and also you tender for the work, and you also you develop all the returnables, and you also partner with subcontractors, so in those opportunities, so and you write about exactly what you do, so you don't have to be fancy, or now try to cut and paste, the identification of work. I mean, those are experienced professionals, so they're going to pick it up and view it as you not having the right experience. But in doing that, at least you will see some relevance to say, okay, what I'm doing versus the council expectation in the identification of work, activities, I'm on the right track, So these are the deliverables for stage 4, at least in what I do. This is well articulated. So, just those basic things, so give them confidence that indeed, so you are in charge and actively involved in those, activities. And then now with the project profile, the template is there. It's part of the eligibility report. And then you have now the second part, which is what we used to call the project report, the A2. So about successes and failures, right? So the current template, I know it covers. Now there's a table, so which shows the knowledge areas, and it shows the success and then the failure on the right, right? So the expectation, and this is how you understand it, So me assessing your report, I must be able to at least understand that indeed you were involved in this project and you managed to drive the success, right? You enable the client to achieve the desired end state, right? And also in a project that was a challenge or failure, the time overrun, for instance, or cost overrun could have been 40%, but you managed to reduce it to about 10%, right? So you're not going to make yourself a Superman or Superwoman or like a hero, So, I mean, it's a reality that projects fail, and you don't always meet the targets, right? As per client expectation because of unforeseen, we're dealing with risk, we're managing uncertainty at a project level. So that is understood, So don't try to present a perfect situation. You manage to minimize the impact of the risk that materialized, So that's just the reality. So in that you then demonstrate that evidence. So now maybe the question would be, do I now just use any one project, or do I use 2 projects? So to avoid confusion, because remember now you have an assessor that is allocated time to say, okay, I have X number of reports that I need to review, and I'm going to spend X amount of time, right? So they don't have 2 days, like let's say assess like your mentors. So your mentors will be very patient and spend more time, review this and make sure, go back to your CV, go back to your profile, all of those things. So now with an assessor that is got working on a checklist, it's okay. So as I read this, is this covered? Is this covered? Is this covered? Right? So the danger then of just writing without using a specific project, for a success and a specific project for a failure, is that you're going to end up confusing the assessor, right? That does not have time. You're going to end up confusing the assessor. That assessors, to be fair as well, they work on an hourly rate, and whatever that they do, they're going to allocate time to say, okay, so this is what I'm going to do today, and I want to achieve this. So it might just be a check. No, not that they don't put in, they have the experience, so they will easily see if something is not meeting the requirements, if a report is not meeting those requirements. So that's pretty much that. So then the recommendation from our end, so which is something that the council supports as well, so in the assessment process, providing clarity. So which means in the table you can split it, so because the template is there as a guideline, so give me evidence that will prove that you've managed a successful project and you've managed a project that was a failure, so that's pretty much that, so what was your involvement, what did you do, so those are the key questions, so that you need to respond to. So rather take a project, make sure that you use one project for success and one project for failure to cover those areas, so that's pretty much that. And the story. I did this, I worked with, I engaged, I supported, I prepared this, so all of that. So this is about you, first person. That's how you write this report. So you're not an observer, right? We did this was done, and this is like storytelling, so you're telling a story as if you were just there watching this project, completed by others, and yet you want to claim that you are a construction manager or a professional construction project manager. It does not work like that, so you are not tried and tested, you are not accountable, you are just watching a movie, so people completing a project in front of you, so I mean, if you want to get this license, then you must be actively involved, active participant in delivering value to the customer. Right, so at least that covers now the two reports. So the success and failure and the profile. So then the other report, the other part that we also need to be aware. So with the council, the lead times, at least at a minimum. So after submitting, so let's say now you completed your 4 weeks and you're ready to submit. So you will then submit. Let's say you submit today, then you're going to wait at least a good 3 months, to get feedback, whether it's a positive or negative outcome, but at least 3 months. So patience again, so you can't submit now and, hey, this report is not moving. So yes, before maybe the council would take longer because now you must understand, so that you submitted, right? The expectation is maybe 3 months, right? Under normal circumstances. But your report was reviewed, let's say, by 3 assessors, right? So 2 assessors agree that you should move to professional interview stage. But 1 assessor believes that, hey, this I'm not comfortable. So then your report will need moderation, right? Just like any environment, because I mean, it must be a fair decision, right? So it might go through moderation. So now that extends, the lead time by another month, because there must be a discussion. Someone maybe needs to check it and say, oh yeah, no, let's give them a chance. We can't reject. Maybe let's interrogate these details in a professional interview setup. Remember, this is a fair process. This is a mandate, Act 48 of 2000, right? They're not doing as they please. They are guided by the law, so it's not something to catch anyone out, but, something that is regulated, so they must make sure that you've been tried and tested, and it must be a fair process to you as well. So then it moves, let's say after moderation, let's say that it's a positive outcome, then you move to professional interview. So now how do you then prepare yourself for that professional interview? So with the professional interview, I would recommend that at least make sure that you get a mentor, right? Make it a point that you get a mentor, you might have the experience, but if you want to pass this thing, effortlessly, without any issues, so rather get a mentor, because this is not about your experience only. It's about you also understanding the SACPCMP system, also making sure that, how you answer, the questions, and with the limited time, because I mean, the council also has limited time. So with the limited time, how do you respond to these questions? So are you do you go straight to the point, or are you going to be wasting their time with, then they're gonna, now put a lot of pressure on you, and then you're gonna end up losing focus. So again, there are a lot of companies out there, and even mentors that do it for free, to help one, understand, just the system, how it works, so I would advise get someone to assist you. Otherwise, it is not straightforward to pass that interview. And as much as now at least there's this latest development, that at least now you're going to get 50% to pass instead of the 60% previously. I don't think that will change much, right? Because now it might just be difficult to get that 50%, because also with assessors, if they were more lenient before, I'm just not sure, because I mean, with any new system, so maybe we need to test it and see, so with the coming, interviews. But again, there's fairness, from the council to say, hey, let's give at least, let's try it out, and make sure that at least people that get 50% make it through, so, but we're just not sure. So you want to get, a mentor to guide you, throughout the process. You don't want any, sort of confusion. Very, very important. So I think with the qualification exemption and all of that, so I don't want to lie, so I mean, I still need to also attend, that, with the council, with the registrar, just to engage and better understand it, so from different scenarios. So I think there was a question on that to say the qualification aspect, the exemption and things like that. So I haven't, the interview one is very straightforward. I think it's easy to understand, but I think the qualification one, and I know before, before the professional interviews was now enforced to, everyone. So before you used to, I think that was before 2014. Yeah, 2013, 12, 10, because others you would just submit if you meet the experience requirements and qualifications. So you would just get a letter without going through the professional interview stage, right? But it's those experienced professionals, so in the industry. And that works. So I'm not sure now whether, is that scenario still applicable, or is there a different twist, so, or is this now talking to RPL, things like that. So I think, once one has that clarity, because this is a new publication, and sometimes you want to test it, so it's one thing reading it and getting clarity from one SACPCMP representative, so, but you also want to be sure that, okay, this is how it would apply in different environments, and then you provide guidance that with clarity, so at this point I don't think one is confident enough to provide that kind of clarity. But for interviews, I'm very certain. Before you needed to get 60%, but now you just need to get 50%, so, and I think that would be a plus. It will be an advantage. Let's say you went for an interview before and you got, let's say, because out of 5 you got 2.7 or 2.8, so which is above 50%. Can you then go back and say, hey, this was my score, and so now can't I then benefit from this? No. So this applies only from now going forward, so you can now go to the interview with that. You can use the previous outcome, to try and benefit from this. It's now going forward, so that's pretty much that. Okay, so I think with that, that covers this at a high level. So then the SACPCMP stages, so which I think yeah, everyone is familiar with this. So but the council has 6 stages, right? Initiation and briefing, concept and feasibility, design development, tender documentation, construction documentation management, which is construction, and then closeout, right? So that's pretty much that. And then there's a purpose for each, and then there's a level of scope definition, the contingency allocation, so the accuracy levels and the key deliverables, so for each stage. So contractors, let me just check. Okay, so contractors mainly get involved from stage 3 to 6. But in most cases, maybe let me not say mainly, so that is mainly stage 4 to 6, which is procurement. They tender for work and then get appointed and then execute the work, which is stage 5, and then close the books, stage 6, right? But projects that are like property developers, for instance, or design build type of investments. So clients would manage stage 1 to 2. And then from stage 3, when they are clear with the option and everything, then they're going to mobilize a contractor, appoint that is going to design and build. But they need to be first clear with their requirements. Some clients will even involve contractors from stage 1 all the way, to stage 6. So this is very common in design build type of investments. Again, it depends on the arrangement. So the model that the client prefers to adopt. So then for you to qualify as a CPM, you must be involved in. Okay, apologies for that. Yeah, I think there was a system challenge, so which disrupted our network. I really apologize for that. So there we go. I think, yeah, we back on, up and running. Apologies for this. Okay, so am I still audible? Okay, great. Thank you. Right. So yeah. So I think just to wrap up on this. So for you to qualify as a CPM, you must be involved in all the stages. Stage 1 all the way to stage 6. You are the main person. You're helping the client to unpack all of this detail. Stage 2, all of this detail. Stage 3, all of this detail. Stage 4, 5, and 6. So that's how you manage it, right? But as a contractor, the expectation, as much as the identification of work, we'll talk about stage 3, but that is like in rare cases where you are in a design build type of model. Otherwise, as a contractor, you're going to start with a tender process, and then you get awarded the work, and then you start working on your project, to put the asset on the ground, and then stage 6, then you're going to close the books, so that's pretty much that. So yeah, so otherwise, yeah, that it takes us to the end, so I think at this point, obviously the presentation might not cover all the details, so as maybe we expected, and we will maybe, so I think with the remaining time, so just to give everyone an opportunity, so in case, so you have specific questions that maybe were not covered, that speak to your current journey and your expectations. So yeah, so I'm just going to open the floor just to just to provide more clarity in areas where maybe we were a bit silent. Okay, so just by the show of hands, then I'll be able to provide, give you the. Okay, Bonginkosi. Okay, then Sfiso will follow. Okay, Bonginkosi, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mika, for the presentation. Just one question, maybe I have maybe two. The question around the allocation of maybe the build-up of these points to 60 points. Do I get maybe 10 points for the CV, 1 point for profile, and then maybe the failure report, 1 point, maybe 10% or whatever, until I get or I reach the 60%. How does it work? That's one question. The second question may be around the failure, especially the failure report. When we speak of failure, some like for instance in a setup where I am a construction project manager, I start a project from initiation stage, maybe until I get a contract at stage 4. And then when we're at stage 5, the contract doesn't perform well, and then I end up terminating that contractor or facilitate the termination of that contractor. And then the project obviously fails because of that situation. Do I then, because all the other stages were a success until stage 5, then it throws off the whole thing because the project did not, come to completion because of such. That is a question I've got. Maybe the third question is around the magnitude of the project, because one would say I'm responsible for instance, in my case, I have a 1.5 million project, and the other one will talk about a R1 billion project. Does that even count, or it's a matter of the stages and of the principles of a construction manager? It doesn't matter the magnitude of the project. I'm there. Thank you, sir.
Okay, no, thanks, Bongos, for that. So maybe let's start with the last one. So the last one around project value. So according to the SACPCMP guidelines, they don't have any set criteria for value, but it's always a perception thing. So if if this project manager can only manage a project of, let's say, 1.5 million, or 2 million, are they going to be able to manage a project of let's say 30 million, 20, a billion, things like that? So then it gets to that, but they haven't actually put it as a criteria, to say only a project of this value, but, just to be safe, at least a project of, from our experience, a project at least above 5 million, so I think it seems to make a lot of sense, because, I mean, and also when we talk value, we're not talking construction value. So we need the entire professional fees and the construction amount, so it needs to be the overall value of the project, so maybe that can push it up, because the key things, they just want to see whether this was a multidisciplinary investment, so where you manage all these other disciplines. And you ticked all the boxes. So to answer you directly, there's no direct value, Bongos, but at least, above 5 million, so then they will, because you need to manage the perception as well, so they mustn't second guess your submission. So not that there's anything written, so to say you won't meet the requirements if the project is 1.5 million. So I hope that it's a political response, but I hope that clarifies it, Bongos. And then the second part, I think you mentioned something about the scoring. So the scoring is only at an interview level, right? So they're not for your CV and all these submissions. So yes, they scrutinize that detail, and obviously there is some allocation which is now outside of the which is outside of the CV score, right? So they're gonna scrutinize the detail and then check, okay, for your CV, okay, we happy you've covered all the key elements. You've given us confidence that indeed you meet these requirements and you have the right qualifications, you've attended the right courses, maybe about contracts and things like that. So there will be some criteria that will then take you to the professional interview stage, so there will be some point allocation. So I'm just not sure about the latest criteria, but yes, so there is some percentage allocation which takes you to professional interview stage. And then at interview stage as well, then they use another criteria, which is that 50%. I think to your point as well, I'm not 100% sure now with these latest changes, whether now the scoring of the CV, the profile, the project report will also be that 50%, So I think those are some of the things that, we wanted to get clarity from the council, the assessors, whether, that will, be applicable. So yeah. And then the other part, okay, yeah, the other part, sorry, Bongos, I think there's one question that I did not respond to. So I answered if you can assist, Bongos. So I answered the last one, and I think the second last one around the scoring of the deliverable, CV profile and project reports. Or challenges, yes. Okay, now I recall. Yeah. So you mentioned that your project is in execution, in construction, and now now it was running well, and only in construction, then you start experiencing the problem. So now in unpacking your report, then obviously now you select a project, where you feel there was a failure. So your success will help you to demonstrate that you have experience in managing the project from start to finish, right? So, because you're going to unpack all of the stages. So, when you talk about a challenge, let's say from integration, so integration, okay, I was appointed as this to lead and direct this project, and this was the objective, and these were the deliverables, and everything was running smoothly, on the project from these stages to that stage up until we got to this point, up until we got to this point. And this is where we started experiencing challenges. And then my entire plan was then disrupted. Now I had to revisit my scheduling, my costing, my quality, my this, my that. And this led to, a termination, because this could have been the impact, So had I allowed this to continue, this could have been the impact. And therefore, I saved the company from further, the client from further, negative impact, so which is why this termination then minimized the impact. So we're able to appoint a new contractor, and so it's in the storytelling, Bunkos. So you can just indicate how things were flowing, from under the integration knowledge area, and then there must be a line that indicates that, look, but then we started experiencing challenges in execution. And then it guides your entire flow of the discussion as you go through your scope, your scheduling, and so forth, to say, okay, now with this disruption from this, underperforming contractor, how did it affect the scope? How did it affect your schedule, your cost, your quality, resource communication, and so forth? So that's how it would make sense. So because assessors at least would need that kind of clarity. So I'm not sure whether that covers you, Bunkos.
Oh, yes, I'm covered, sir. It was just mainly the understanding of that project. Can it be used as a
Yes.
failure project?
Yeah.
Simply because some of the stages were success only up to the execution stage, where you experience a problem, and that problem I can see Luvio's chart as he's saying the recovering of the monies and all that, the insurances. Yeah, that is understood. But I was just referring to the failures to say the project is okay until stage 5. Stage 5 becomes a failure because maybe these contractors that we get these days, they are good in books, and then the moment they start execution, then you have a problem, and they don't end up finishing the project. They get terminated. You recover the monies from the insurances and retention, but that is a story. In fact, I was asking, to understand if that can be used as a story of failure. But I think you've unpacked well. Thanks.
All right. Okay. No, awesome. No, thank you. No, thanks for that. All right. So I think we're going to move over to Lungelo. Lungelo, over to you.
Yes, good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Abongile. Thank you so much for a very fruitful session. I just want to ask, I'm Lungelo Mteto. I'm in Cape Town currently, but I'm from Richards Bay. I just want to ask, Abongile, when you go for your interview, are you being asked on your 2 projects that you featured in terms of your successes and failures, or they can choose from any that you featured on your project profile, like any 5 of them?
Yeah. So, the council, they moved away from, asking you about your projects or, the experience and your experience and things like that. So they focus everything on the identification of work, right? So it will be just industry norms, as a CPM, for instance, if you're a CPM, or industry norm as a CM. If they were to now give you this license to manage any type of project, not necessarily about what you know, what you've written as evidence, but anything about the industry that a CPM or a CM should know, for instance. So then they're going to ask you about that. So it's then up to you as you provide that evidence. For instance, if they say, so how do you lead and direct your project, as a construction project manager? Just take us through the steps, that you follow, maybe from stage 1 to 6. So then it is up to you, to reference a project that you worked on, so they want then, now look at the details, say, hey, but you've got project 1. What were you doing in project 1? Because this and that, they're not going to interrogate that detail. So to answer you directly, the focus is more on the principles as a professional, either as a construction manager or construction project manager. You are the one that will bring in that experience as a way of giving them confidence. So yeah, I hope that covers it, Lungel.
Yes, thank you so much, Abongile. I just want to know, like, let's say I want to take your services only for interview preparation. Is that fine?
Yes, yeah, sure. No, we do that. I think we get a lot of requests for that. So yes, no, we do that. I'm just going to share the email address. And this. Or I think as you were enrolling, I think you maybe were communicating with, I'm not sure the Andy Iswa or Dineo, but yeah. So, but I think you can use that email address to send your request. Otherwise, yes, we provide that support. So there are different packages where you just get questions only, or you get questions plus a mentor assigned. And then we also have another, special arrangement where now we go into detail, comprehensive, so give you a simulated interview setup with a panel, so where we interrogate, so the details, so that by the time you get there, at least you're not, as shaken, so yeah, as that is a very intimidating environment. All right, so I think Tsako, over to you. Okay, you're still on mute, Tsako. Okay, so maybe let's move to Winsley, Masinga, so I think, and then Sandile.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for the presentation. I'm Winsley from Johannesburg. May I ask, in terms of the submission period, is it still a fact that the window period is between the 1st of July till the 15th of August? And then, what other question? I think I had another question that I wanted to ask. What interview? Okay, and the second question that I wanted to ask, it's regarding the project implementation date. There are some projects, I think I got an indication from the website or from a bit of research that I made that your projects that we should be submitting or presenting on our reports are projects that we would have done within the past 5 years. So what about if the projects were done, say, about a couple of years back, around about 2014, 2015, which is more than the stipulated period? For whatever reason that it could be, where you feel that the project that you feel that you should be presented, it would be more appropriate, or it will be a better reflection of your competencies. It's an old project. So would that be acceptable to the council or yes, or assessors? Thank you.
All right. No, thanks, Winslow, for that. So, yeah, I think that is a challenge, and I think mostly that affects executives. People that are now operating at a more senior level, and now the experience they didn't register at the right time, and now they are already executives. So no longer on the ground. To demonstrate that kind of evidence. So yeah, look, from the council side, on your CV, right? You will be able to unpack that detail, right? To show that indeed you are a foot soldier and you've been on the ground. And in your project profile as well, so you will, as much as they might say, let's say 5 years, then you start taking a chance and say, look, because I really want to demonstrate that, look, I was exposed even back then, so then you take it back, even though, now you're going against that. But, again, it's either you apply or you don't apply. You accept that, hey, I must have, the recent 5 years experience in order for me to meet these, latest requirements. But you go backwards, so that's what other professionals have done. But then the question then, maybe Winsley, would be now in your current role, so because if your current role has now shifted completely, like in the past 5 years, and now you're doing something completely unrelated. So that is what would then put you in a compromising position, because for executives, for instance, if let's say now I'm a head of projects, but before I was a project manager, then I became a senior project manager, then principal, and then let's say I'm a project director currently, right? I might not be on the ground, doing the work, but I'm still in that setup. So that can work, right? To show your experience, dating back to like your 2014, for instance. But if now you're very far from the action, so you're doing something completely unrelated, so then it might just be a challenge, So I'm not sure what your situation is, but that is the context, Winsley. So I just hope that clarifies it.
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you. So the second question was about the window period, which we must submit our application. It is still the 15th of August deadline,
Correct.
or
Correct.
yes.
Correct.
All right.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So I think that covers Winsley. I think there was supposed to be Mr. Okay, it's Bonello.
Greeting, Chair. Yes, I was wanting to check regarding the experience that you need to list on your profile. So let's say you have like the qualification is 5 years, but now in terms of the project duration per year, you'll find that the project is 8 months or 6 months. So in terms of compiling all those projects, do they weigh with the project duration, or is the number of experience that you qualified from? And then I think that's the first question. Chair.
All right. Okay. So maybe let's deal with the first question. So is that now for CM or CPM?
CPM.
CPM. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, but project duration, but when you say 8 months, is that now the construction duration or from stage one? Should be.
It's the construction duration.
Yeah. So you see, I think that is maybe one of the mistakes, we make when we're preparing the project profile report, right? Because we only consider the construction start, whereas the expectation is that you need to capture the stage one, when this project was when you started, when it was initiated. So that should be the date, stage one date, and stage six date. So that's basically that. Then your 6 months project or your 8 months could easily be 12 months. So because then you're gonna have, okay, so let's mute here. Yeah, so your 8 months project, you can add maybe another 6 months, let's say for stage one up to stage four. That can be 4 6 months, it just depends on the project size. So which means it can easily be 12. So I think in your assessment, you need to maybe add those stages as well. So now to answer you in that context, the council is looking for experience, right? So even if you can now have all of these projects, overlapping in that day, as long as you can be able to account for a full, 5 years, to say in the 5 years I was working, and these are the projects as evidence that indeed I have, a CPM experience, so in the past 5 years, so that is the expectation, and not necessarily duration. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I think I have the last one in terms of evaluating the weight for the project. Let's say you are still on stage 1 to 3, for an example. That will take almost like a year or two because of the compliance, the EIA as such. So do I need to list that project because I'm still on stage 1 to 2 or stage 1 to 3, and it's not on the closeout stage? So I'm not quite sure. Do I need to list the projects that are on the planning stage?
Yeah. Okay. So look, what you do for instance, it is possible that you might be running, let's say, 20 projects at a time, right? But here we want to select the best, so you also don't want to overwhelm the council with your entire portfolio of projects. So then what you do, if you have at least one, or you can identify your best projects and say, okay, I'm gonna use this project to cover, let's say, 2024. And I'm going to use that one to cover 2025 because at least it gives me a nice 12 months, So, or I've got a project that will cover 2024 and 2023, So it was 24 months, for instance, So then I've covered that area. And then I have another project that will give me another 2 to 3 years, So then maybe I might just end up presenting, two good projects that will cover the 5 years. And then any other four, any other, let's say, additional 3 projects that I might just add. I'll also select the best, so which could be between, 2023, 2024, 24, or a current project, so just to show that, okay, this one is running, and, this is where we're at. So to answer you correctly, you can also include at least one, project to show that you have an active project that is running, and you capture. It does not have to be in a closeout stage, but at least make sure that at least about 3 of them you've managed them from start to finish. From stage one all the way to stage six. So because that is what will give the panel confidence. So yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, awesome stuff. Okay, so I think there was another hand, I think from SB. Yes, Sandile. Sure, Sandile.
Greetings, colleagues, and thank you, Mr. Abongile, for this fruitful presentation. I'm Sandile Sibiya from the Western Cape. I would like to ask that maybe a memory refresh. Is it mandatory that in the past 5 years I must have been directly involved in all the stages for my projects? And I'm asking because I'm coming from a municipal background, and I know that at the setting and the pecking order in the municipal space sometimes limits one to engage directly in other functions, especially stage 1 and 2 of the project. And the exposure maybe would start in stage 3 right up until 6. Is it mandatory that for all my projects I must be involved in all the stages? Thank you.
Okay, to answer you directly, it is not mandatory. In a perfect scenario, perfect environment, ideally all your projects, you must select projects where you've managed everything from start to finish, right? But there's reality, which is what you've unpacked. So which means at least about three, so there must be at least about three projects where you've managed from start to finish. Because remember, this is about giving them confidence that maybe if you present one, then they might think, this is not sufficient. This was by chance. If it's two, they might second guess you. But when you give them three, and also show that in others you were involved from stage three, so then at least the panel will be fair and maybe test you in an interview, so yeah. So to answer you directly, it is not mandatory, but it gives them confidence that you've been tried and tested if you cover all the areas, so like all 6 stages. So yeah, I'm not sure whether that covers you, Mr. Spear.
Yes, I'm sorted. Thank you.
All right, awesome, man. Okay, so next up is Ntsako.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you for your presentation and greetings to colleagues. I have an avenue here that I want to ask about, right? Tagum Tombin is my name, and I'm particularly working for a contractor. I'm a civil engineering technician. So I want to understand here when we speak about a project, because sometimes as a main contractor, you do get activities that you have to subcontract to maybe a specialist. And maybe you can think about the appointment of that particular specialist as stages from 1 to 6, from the time that you get to brief them, procurement policies and all of those things, and eventually get to appoint one and they do the works in stage 5. So I'm just trying to understand, if you are in the contractor environment, is it possible for you to think about subcontracting as part of another project within a project? And therefore you would be practicing as a CPM. Thank you.
So practicing as a C, I think I lost you there on the CPM part.
So what I'm trying to connect, is that I would be appointed as a contractor construction manager, right?
Okay.
And now there's an activity that I need to appoint a specialist for.
Okay.
So now, is it possible for me to think of the role that I'm practicing from stage 1 to engage the subcontractors, development of those procurement policies, the inception reports, to clearly brief them about what I want with this particular specialist services, and to take them through those stages from 1 to 6. But now I'm a construction manager of a project that is looking for a subcontractor for something else. So is it possible now to think of myself as a project manager in that instance when I'm bringing the subcontractor on board? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now I get you. Yeah. Uh, yeah. It's a tricky one, and I think and I understand where you're coming from, because you see that is very common in an industrial setup. So where, for instance, original equipment manufacturers, can view themselves, as CPMs. For instance, if you're a principal contractor and then you end up appointing the OEMs, for instance. So OEMs will come as a professional team, and then you, as a contractor, then you unpack the packages, mechanical and electrical packages, for instance, control instrumentation. So from that perspective, because now they are because there will be some engineering aspects, of which you, in a way, during stage 5, you are sort of like exposed, yeah, you're unpacking, you're gonna, share the brief and then go through the various options and then, yeah, the design development, and only then they can start the manufacturing process. But all of that is happening within, it's more like a sub project within, yeah, stage 5. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah, it's a tricky one, because that is yeah, that is more construction, because if you think, yeah, it still falls within the CM scope, so because as a CPM, you must be part of that entire development, so right from the onset, so yeah, so I don't think it would fly. And I know in an industrial setup, so there is that bit of confusion, but yeah, it wouldn't fly because it's because OEMs as well. I know we worked with another organization, so they are OEMs as well, and we were very clear that they fall within the CM and not the CPM. Because if you strictly scrutinize the identification of work, so it will not fly as a CPM. It will be more CM. Yeah, but yeah, tricky, very borderline, Chaco, but yeah, that is more CM than CPM. So yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, awesome, man. Sure. Right. So I think there was another hand. Just not sure for all. Tabisa, over to you.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning,
Yes, we
Chairperson,
can.
and thank you so much for the presentation. Mine, but Abongilene. I am seeking some clarity on the eligibility report, both the successes and failures. More so, we profile 5 projects. Must the eligibility report be project specific, or it must be based on the projects that you have profiled? I think the other one I have I think it's a comment or input. The council did host an webinar regarding the special dispensation. I think they've uploaded it also on YouTube. That is the passing mark. Mostly I concentrated on the passing mark, which is between 50 to 59%, where they were telling us that it is conditional. It is only allowed for 2 years, meaning from the 1st of August this year till 2027, it will be conditional, and you will be reassessed maybe after the 2 years. So what else did I note down? And also, maybe if you have mistakes on your report, maybe you have 21 days. The council will contact you and have 21 days for you to fix all those errors that were there. But the webinar is there on the YouTube site if anyone is interested. And also they have also relaxed the NQF levels and the years of experience. But if one wants to listen, they can just check it on YouTube. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thanks, Tabisa, for that. So yeah, there you go. So at least the recording is there for anyone that would like to catch up on that. Okay, so I think your question is around the A2 reports. Do we write about do we generalize and just pick and choose any project to capture the success or failure, or do we write about one specific project? So I'd say for my guidance on that is try to provide clarity, so avoid confusion. So what that means then is that for me, I would select a project for the success from one of the 5 projects, okay, or one of the projects that I would have listed in my profile. So I would select one project and cover the success, and select one project and to cover the failure, so and indicate that this is how I'm going to approach it. just so that at least the assessor is not confused. Because you see, when you're now all over the show and you're talking about this and that, so it's very difficult. Because this is not a tick box exercise. As they go through the report, they want to also make sure that at least so what you've covered is making sense. What you cover under integration, scope, for instance, scheduling, quality, cost, and so forth. So it has to flow nicely. But now, if you're writing about different projects, it might just lead to a confusion. So for the assessors, so remember, you don't want to create confusion, so make life easier for you and for the assessor, so you want to increase your chances of succeeding. So rather talk about one project, and then I think that will definitely better position you for success. Right. So I'm not sure whether that covers you, Tabisa.
No, I'm covered. Thank you so much, but
all right, awesome, man. All right, so yeah, I think we've at least managed to cover a few sessions and a few questions. Sorry, so I think the next step from here. I think if you need now a tailored guidance, so I think that's what I um, that's the next step. So if you want tailored guidance, so based on your unique experience, so we've shared the email address, so you can maybe just send us your CV, with your request or your challenge or how you would like to be assisted, so then we're going to assess, provide guidance, so and say, look, yes, you can come to us. No, don't come to us. Maybe come to us. You have the right experience. I think, just come to us for the professional interview, or you really need our help. So because we're gonna assess based on your CV, to be able to guide whether it's something that you can do on your own. But at the end of the day, this will be your decision. So we don't decide for you, but we can help. And there are many other mentors that provide a similar service, so you come to us, we'll be more than willing to assist, but there are other organizations, very good, credible, that provide, the same, so maybe they can share a better perspective, but I'm very confident that, we would also be adding value. So, okay, so it looks like there's a last request before we dial off. Yeah, go for it, Ndombekai.
Thank you, Abongile. Thank you for the fruitful presentation. My one is directed to you. I had a question on the chat box. What is your success rate? Or is it a showcase that we pass if we come to me?
Hey. Why are you putting me on the spot, Ndombekai? Okay, so now, so with the success rate, so we always measure this based on the people that go through the entire process, at least up to professional interview stage, right? So that's how we measure it. Because at interview stage, so it's 50-50. Other people are nervous, they can't, they don't have confidence, and so there are a number of challenges, so that come with that. So there's our part, and then there's the part of a candidate, being comfortable. But having said that, so we're not gonna say we have 100% pass rate, so we're not gonna mislead you. There are challenges here and there, more especially with candidates that maybe don't fully meet the requirements, so like client project managers, so there's a challenge there. And because now, specifically construction project managers, because in stage one, they are not, for instance, the appointment of consultants, so they're not involved in that. And even directly leading consultants and, doing some activities, because there's an implementing agent and there's there's also a principal consultant, project managers appointed to fulfill that role. So that becomes a challenge. And as much as they might be involved, but the fact that there's no indication of them working with appointment of consultants, and also discussions around the required professional indemnity, setting up the terms of reference, and also providing guidance to the client on how the professional indemnity should be structured for the different disciplines, so things like that. So then that comes with a challenge, because some assessors will be very firm on that and just say, no, we're not supporting this because this person is a client project manager and not directly involved with these specific activities, so then, and it's something that we would discuss with the candidate upfront to say, hey, this might fly and this might not fly, so now then you have those areas. But we can confidently say that before we used to say, hey, at least we have about 90% pass rate on report, because it would be like in a year, it would just be about three or four unfortunate cases, so I think it would be about three on average, so plus minus reports that would be rejected. But I think surprisingly, I think it must have been last year. Yeah. So last year, I think there were a lot of changes within the council, and yeah, then I think the rejections, I think they went up to about 6 between CPM and CM. So then we looked into that and also went as far as engaging with council assessors, just to check those that were involved, so without following the dispute, because we always avoid a dispute as well, so some, I think from the 6, I think about 3, it was it was an error, so from the council side, and the other 3, then it was, yeah, I mean, we had to accept. But then with the 3, we could not now challenge, so I always say, look, let's resubmit, let's not challenge the council, so obviously the council won't be perfect as well. Yes, you want to prove that you're right, but you can prove it by looking at the areas that were pointed out and then resubmit, so we always take that position, because I mean, there's no reason, so unless of course it's justified. So I think to answer you then, at this point where we're sitting in overall, so we can say we are more 85%, I would say, we're slowly making it to 90%, so but we're not, because of those reports, the 6 reports from last year, that has dropped us from the 90. So now I can say we're more 85%, but interview preparation, so the success there as well, people coming for the interview package, specifically, yeah, both CPM and CM this year at least, so the outcome has been very positive. And we're hoping that, so that continues, so because now we're spending more time, so more time to close the gaps with the clients, so making sure that, even if the questions can be asked in any different form, at least you are, well guided, so, and the other challenge as well, so what affects the success rate as well. So some clients would come with, they receive a letter now and already there's an interview opportunity. They book it. They receive today and then they say, oh, I'm going for it, Wednesday, so there was a slot and I already booked it. Hey, please, Micha, please help us, So now when you engage the client, you realize that, hey, they still need about 3 weeks of work, so to go through the gaps, you have a chat, they don't know certain things, that they need to understand, right? And now you pick up that this is not just them not understanding the maybe the identification of work, there's an experience gap as well, so and mostly in such cases would even now help the candidates to go as far as developing project briefs, all these deliverables, so per stage. select a project and then work on those deliverables. We assess, we check, so we make sure that at least they have the hands-on experience, to develop these artifacts. So if you now come short notice, so we obviously want to become a solution. So we're going to provide the guidance under those conditions if you can cancel the interview, and then it becomes a 50-50 situation. So then do we measure ourselves, based on those outcomes, so did we have full control to provide guidance, or you came and was like, hey, please, I'm pressed, can you assist, so then there's that, so I know I'm being a politician in my response, but I'll say, taking all of that in, I can say we have at least currently 85% pass rate, but based on how things are going, our data is showing that we're going back to about 90%. But yeah, with 100%, I can't lie to you. We're not going to guarantee you 100%. Because there's us and there's our system, and then there's you. So yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, so I think, yeah, this basically sums it up. So otherwise, yeah, from our end, thank you very much for attending this session. So we will obviously communicate. I think from what we've discussed, it looks like there's also an opportunity for us to have a follow-up session. So maybe that would be more in depth. Just to understand maybe the finer detail. It might just be more focusing on the interview itself, or maybe the articulation of these reports, so just the key pointers, free session as well, so just key pointers when you're working on your CV, these are the things that you need to watch out for, make sure you cover them. So when you're writing your project profile, so these are the key things, so also maybe I think the interview one would have to be a separate session, so for construction project managers, and then for construction managers, so because the approach is slightly different, so yeah. So otherwise, thank you very much. And yep, so hope to see you in our next session. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Email.
Thank you so much. Bye.